Hello, Void Dwellers. I absolutely adore the Matrix films. They are not perfect, what a piece of art is, but as far as the right combination of story, philosophy, and entertainment goes, they are damn close to it. You can watch these films 50 times over 20 years and you'd still come up with new insights and theories. Trust me, I speak from experience. And I thought it would be kind of fun to tell the Void some ideas and theories I have about these films that I never hear in other analyses of them. So I might make a few more of these in the future. And obviously these will contain huge spoilers to anyone silly enough to have not watched the original trilogy in 2024. What the hell is wrong with you? But if you are that person, don't watch this video. Don't watch any other video as well. Don't read about it. Go into the first one not knowing anything about it. That's how I watched it in cinema all the way back in 1999, when all I knew was that it was kind of a cyberpunk dystopian action movie with Keanu Reeves, and nothing more. And for the first half hour of the film, I was right there with Neo, not understanding what the hell was going on, and then discovering it with him. And it was, to this day, one of the best movie experiences of my life. So yeah, do that. But anyway, for this one, I wanted to talk about the Oracle, and how she is in fact the puppet master of the original trilogy. And what I mean by that is that the Oracle is not predicting what is going to happen, not entirely at least. She is manipulating events in order to get the result that she wishes for. In other words, what I'm saying is that she didn't just predict that Neo is the one. She made Neo the one out of many other potentials in order to arrive at the end result that she desired. See, I think I understand the Oracle because I approve with her way of doing things, and I would have done the same if I could. And I mean in real life. In fact, as people who watched this channel before would know, throughout my life I was always a supporter of the two-state solution when it came to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I just always thought there was really no other move on the board that maintains everyone's human rights. And as a humanist, that's the solution I wanted to find. But people kept telling me that it was unachievable because the Palestinians wouldn't have it. And indeed, Clinton himself testified that in the year 2000 it was offered in full to Arafat by Prime Minister Barak, including half of Jerusalem and everything the Palestinians could have wanted, and he refused and ignited the Second Intifada, which cost thousands of Israeli and Palestinian lives. And you can find out more in my video on Arafat and the First Israel-Lebanon War. But what I always said to people is that humans seldom do the right thing. We have to control the board. We have to push people into doing the right thing by making sure the right pieces are in place for it to happen. In other words, I believe there were ways to convince Arafat to make the deal, and if he didn't, well, then it's not written in stone that he should be the Palestinian leader. The Oracle does the same exact thing, basically. She knows that humans and the machines would just end up either annihilating each other or just stuck in this endless loop of bloodshed, suffering, and misery. So she steps in to interfere and direct events to her desired goal: peace. And to do that, she doesn't just make sure that Neo becomes the one. She makes sure Smith becomes a virus. She is indeed the mother of the Matrix. But to understand why I'm saying that, we first need to understand some core concepts of the movies. First of all, we need to understand what the Matrix is and what was its purpose. The Matrix is a virtual world in which all of humanity is imprisoned, and the reason is that the machines are growing humans as crops to take advantage of the electrical energy produced by the human body. Yes, that is the dumbest and weakest point of the movies, and it makes zero sense. And it has been said by many others before me, even Futurama made fun of it. There are literally thousands of better and less expensive sources of energy on this planet, even if you remove the sun from the equation. But anyway, in the story we got, they grow us as crops for energy. The machines created the Matrix not just to keep humans still, but to prolong their life as long as possible. I mean, you'd want your battery to have the longest life it can, right? So at first they built a utopia, a place where there would be no violence, no wars, everyone would be happy and content all the time. But as Agent Smith tells Morpheus, it was a disaster. Nobody accepted the program and entire crops were lost. Smith's theory is that humans would reject a utopia because humans define themselves through misery and suffering. And I don't think he's completely wrong, by the way. We actually see that in real life, where people who come from very rich and comfortable countries tend to invent new struggles for themselves. And I don't mean invent as in they are making it up. No, this is not a conscience thing. From their perspective, these issues are very real and even life-threatening. But you can't ignore the fact that some problems you find in wealthy countries are almost non-existent in poorer countries. And indeed, you see it in teenagers from privileged and comfortable backgrounds, how they create these mental struggles for themselves to overcome. It seems we humans need to have a struggle of sorts to define our personality through. However, the architect of the Matrix, which we meet in the second movie, he believes that the problem was that the human mind is imperfect and will reject a perfect system. And that is the key to everything. See, in the first movie, Morpheus tells Neo that the Matrix is built on top of rules, and like every computer system, some of these rules can be bent, others can be broken. Now, I always had a problem with that statement. As a programmer, I can tell you categorically that the rules of a digital system, the logic presented in the code, cannot be broken or bent. And if it can be, it is misdefined. When you hear in the media about hackers taking advantages of weaknesses in systems, that's not to say that they are bending the rules. It means they found something that was not properly defined by the developer, and they are taking advantage of that. So perhaps that is what the architect is referring to. However, he is wrong to think that this is the reason humans rejected his utopia. And it was the Oracle who discovered what the real problem was. And the problem was choice. We humans, we experience ourselves through our choices. In fact, a person's entire memory of themselves is of things that happened to them and the choices they made as a result. Situations where choice was limited are usually associated with bad memories. Situations where choice was perceived to be in the person's hands are usually associated with good memories. Now, don't think this is a black and white thing. You may say, well, I have great memories of going to school, and that wasn't a choice. But if you wanted it to happen, it was a choice. Or rather, there was no conflict there. Choice feels like it has been denied, not when we are doing what we are told, but when we don't get to express our wish to not do the things that we don't want to do, or the things that are done to us. If you have a fetish of being tied down and used, then it's not really a violation of your choice. Doing it to someone who hasn't given consent and has no such fetish is a completely different story. So even if you place humans in a utopia, you'd have to take away our choice in order to maintain the utopia for everyone. A small percentage of people would accept it, because their idea of utopia would just happen to fit the system. But most people would feel that something is wrong and would rebel. And rebellion doesn't necessarily mean they understand they live in a simulation or anything like that. I imagine that most crops that were lost at the time were lost due to mental illnesses and suicide. That's what rebelled looks like sometimes. So the problem is choice. Humans have to be able to make a choice. And that's what the Oracle discovered. If given the choice to be in the Matrix, even on a subconscious level, people would accept the program. And so the Matrix was redesigned to allow the imperfections that we have in our society. The problem is that we are an illogical creature. If you look around yourself right now, you'd find that humans do unbelievably illogical and unreasonable things. From recording themselves dancing on TikTok to killing each other because they believe their imaginary friend commends it. If you write a mathematical masterpiece, but you have to deliberately introduce a flaw to account for our own illogical behavior, then this flaw would grow and grow until the system collapses and cannot function anymore. So a solution would be to control that flaw, and that is what the One is. The One is a carrier of the code that from the system's point of view is a form of controlled virus, but from our point of view is choice. And that virus comes from the system itself, from the source, as they put it in the films. And the one will then pass the influence of this virus, or this mental virus, to a selected few in the system, thus allowing the anomaly to exist in the system but containing it to acceptable parameters. Then it would be allowed to grow to an agreed upon size, and then it would be temporarily eradicated. Go back to the source, only to restart the entire thing again. Problem solved. Humans have choice, they get to rebel, the system contains it, and everybody lives miserably ever after in limbo. Enters the Oracle. She was not satisfied with it, not by a long shot. Like myself, she's a humanist. Perhaps she was a peace activist when the war between humans and machines took place before the Matrix. And she wanted the best possible outcome for both sides. And the best result is compromise. Is peace between the two species. And that won't happen on its own. They will never love each other. They are too ingrained in their cycle of atrocities and payback. So she had to create a situation that would make it better for both sides to have peace rather than to have war. And to do that, she had to bring about a situation where both sides will be on the brink of extinction if they didn't stop fighting each other. From the human side, that was already in motion. The machines have been creating and destroying Zion as part of their control of the anomaly for decades, maybe centuries, we don't know. But for the machines, they needed to be in danger too. And that's where Smith comes in. See, the Oracle is an intuitive AI. Much like the AI of our time, she is capable of studying people and machines and predict the most likely outcome of people's choices. Predict the most likely choices of a person's mental structure, in fact. In every given generation, the anomaly needs to be represented in a chosen human to be controlled. You are not born with it, you are injected with it. But if the anomaly were to be injected into someone who is not right for it, it won't serve its purpose. Imagine it is injected into someone with less than a cognitive ability than Neo's. And any example I give here would just come off as rude and condescending, so you fill out the blanks for yourselves. But the point is, if it happens to someone without the cognitive talent to take advantage of it, then they would just go mad and that wouldn't solve a thing. So, while it's not specifically said in the films, I believe the anomaly would be injected only into someone who makes a conscious decision to break the rules of the system. Now you may say, but we see people break the rules of the systems all the time in the films. Why aren't they the one? But no one breaks the rules of the system but Neo. Others may bend them, but he is the only one who breaks them. He is the only one who can stop bullets. He is the only one who can fly. And yes, I know that Smith can fly too in the third film, but that's because Smith is Neo. So it's part of that lore. And Neo is the only one who was able to bring himself back from death. And that is the most crucial point. He is the one because he is the only one who can break the rules, not bend them. And he can break them because he is the only one who made a conscious effort to do that. That is the meaning of his resurrection. He has died in the Matrix, so his brain was fooled into believing that the heart should stop. But through a combination of his determination, his anger, his resolve, and his love towards the people he had met, and Trinity above all, he rebelled against it and said, no, this is not real, I'm not dead. And that's when the anomaly was injected into him and he was brought back to life. That is just the system doing what it's supposed to be doing. And that is why, from that moment on, he sees the code of the Matrix. He is now operating with the privileges of a system admin. And, without even realizing it, he is now connected to every other machine on the planet. Which is why later we can see him destroy Sentinels in the real world with his mind. So that is why Neo is there. But the Oracle also needed to find a way to create a virus in the Matrix. She saw the relationship between Smith and Neo for what they are. These are two entities who are the complete opposite of each other, and yet they are identical. They share the same resolve and determination, capable of anything. An unstoppable force meeting an unmovable object. So she created the conditions for them to meet, knowing the result. She manipulated Morpheus to find this particular potential one. She manipulated Neo to go after Morpheus to save him and place himself in Smith's path. And the thing is, it's not something that the films even hide from us or from the characters. The Oracle tells Neo that he is not the one because he is waiting for another lifetime, which is alluding to him having to die before he can become the one. And Morpheus tells Neo that she just told him what he needed to hear, nothing more. She's not telling people the future. She's telling people what they need to hear to push them into the path she wants them to be on. She knew the combination of Neo, Trinity, Morpheus, and Smith would get her the results that she wanted. And that is for the one to want to truly kill an agent. See, in the Matrix, the agents are built like viruses to begin with, but controlled viruses. A kind of a super user. They basically only exist in the system when they hack someone plugged into it and take over them. And when you kill an agent in a normal way, you didn't kill the agent, you just killed the person it was hijacking at the time. And indeed, when they die, we see them revert into the form of their host. And then the agent just comes back in another body. Neo wants to kill Smith properly, not the body he was using at the time. And he does so by invading his code, by corrupting him. But by doing so, instead of destroying him, he disconnects him from the system. So now Smith has all the admin privileges of an agent, but he is not tethered to the source, to the system's rules anymore. He is given choice. But Smith's choice is predictable and inevitable. He will choose to consume and destroy, and the Oracle knows it. She always knew it. She says in the third film that once he has destroyed the Matrix completely, he will go on to destroy the Machine City as well. It's his nature. He cannot stop. He will spread out. And yes, of course, Smith calling humans a virus in the first film is foreshadowing his own nature as it is exposed in the next two movies. And that is what the Oracle wanted. Now all the players are in place. The machines will not be able to get rid of Smith without the help of the One. Why? Because the One is still connected to the source. See, when Smith takes over someone in the Matrix, he infects their code with his. He takes over them. That's what agents have always done. The corruption is that he can copy himself now repeatedly. Originally, the system would have some kind of a failsafe, making sure only one of each agent is allowed to be in the system at any given moment. But Smith is now disconnected. He is not reading as an agent anymore. So now he can override the code of anyone who is plugged in, human or machine, over and over again. And he turns them into a copy of himself. Mind you, he doesn't delete the original code. Much like an agent, his method of taking over is designed to be rolled back eventually. But he does assimilate your code, which is why he retains knowledge and memories of the people he assimilated. The trick is that the code that Neo carries comes directly from the source. It is connected to every other machine, including the source. Which is again why Neo can destroy machines in the real world just by thinking it. So, the moment Smith assimilates Neo, he is connecting himself back to the source. And when that moment happens, it's like a cancer cell holding up a placard saying, "I'm cancer," in front of the body's immune system. Now, the source can see every copy of the Smith program and eradicate it completely from all systems. And that was the Oracle's endgame. She wanted to create a situation where if the two species won't work together, they would both be destroyed. Because that was the only way to force them to do that. She invented Neo and Smith. She manipulated everyone, machine and human, and orchestrated this entire scenario in order to get to the point of peace. It's not perfect, it's not a loving peace, but it's peace. And it is better than war. And yes, if you happen to see the connection to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think the Wachowskis knew exactly what they were doing when they called the last human city Zion. And I think absolutely this is the metaphor of the films. And I agree with that metaphor through and through. But that perhaps is something to be discussed in another video.